welcome to the Say Yes to What's Next podcast, where embracing change can ignite a world of possibilities.
Hey now, I'm your host, Elise Ancel, and welcome back to this week's episode, Steps to Your Next. Ever feel like the gap between where you are and where you want to be is just too wide to cross? Sometimes we set our sights on a big upgrade, a new chapter, a better way of living, or an opportunity that just feels out of reach. At first, it might seem impossible because we don't have everything perfectly lined up or enough resources to make it happen all at once. That can be discouraging, even paralyzing if we let it be. But the truth is, the way forward doesn't always require having it all figured out up front. Instead, it's about shifting the way we see the journey. So let's get into it. For some time, I've been trying to wrap my mind around the best way to step into my next. I knew where I was headed, but the specifics, how to execute it, how to plan it out, left me frustrated. No matter how I positioned it, something just didn't feel right. Even when I thought I'd finally figured it out and had a plan in place, it completely fell apart just days before I was set to move forward. Surprisingly, though, I wasn't frustrated when those plans flopped. Sure, it would have gotten me moving, but not in a way that aligned with what I truly wanted. Fast forward to a seemingly ordinary moment, out of the blue, something clicked. One thing led to another, and suddenly my perspective shifted. I realized I had been looking at it all wrong. The end goal I envisioned hadn't changed, but this step, this middle ground, was a solid move toward it. It wasn't the finish line, but it was exactly what I needed to position myself for the bigger picture. That clarity changed everything. Not only did I see how this next step aligned with my ultimate goal, but I also saw how it could create a new revenue stream and give me the space to regroup. Now I could rest in this new direction, trusting it's all part of God's plan for me. It's not the final destination, but it's a meaningful and intentional step toward what's next. When I changed my perspective, I realized that even small steps toward a bigger goal mattered. Each step, no matter how small or imperfect, builds momentum and moves me closer to where I want to be. Sure, it's not the final destination, and it might feel slow at times, but there's something powerful about progress. With each step, I'm proving to myself that what once felt out of reach is actually within my grasp. One decision, one action, one day at a time. It's about trusting the process and being patient with the timeline, knowing that the bigger picture is still unfolding. What stood out the most for me during this discovery was how this shift in perspective brought peace, not just about the step I was taking, but about the journey as a whole. For so long, I had been caught up in trying to force everything to fit my version of perfect timing. I wanted it all to align immediately. But in hindsight, I see how the delays and detours were part of the process. It was a reminder that sometimes the doors we think should open right away aren't locked. They're just on a different timeline. The waiting, the missteps, and even the frustration weren't wasted. They were teaching me to trust more, to let go of my need for control, and to see the beauty in progress, however small or unexpected it might seem. It's showing me how to prepare, to build, and to grow into the person I need to be to fully embrace what's ahead. It's as though each piece is being laid out intentionally, not all at once, but in a way that ensures everything is exactly where it needs to be when the time comes. Looking back, I realized that the clarity I was searching for didn't come from figuring it all out at once. It came in pieces, in moments of surrender, and in being willing to take a step, even if it wasn't the step I'd envisioned. And with each move, I've gained more confidence that I'm on the right path, no matter how unconventional or unplanned it may feel. This experience has shown me that when we trust the process and keep moving forward, even when we don't have all the answers, we're aligning ourselves with something greater. It's not always about having every detail worked out. It's about having faith that the path will reveal itself as we go. So let's think about it for a moment. Have you ever found yourself in a place where the vision for your next step was so clear, but the details of how to get there left you feeling stuck? Maybe you've had moments where you thought everything was lining up perfectly, only to watch those plans fall apart. How did you handle it? Did frustration take over, or did you find yourself leaning into the possibility that something better might be unfolding? Think about a time when you felt like you were settling for less than what you really wanted. Did it feel like giving up on the bigger goal? Or did you see it as a stepping stone, an intentional pause on the way to something greater? How has your perspective shaped the way you move through those in between spaces? What about clarity? Has there been a moment when everything suddenly clicked? When a shift in how you saw the situation opened up possibilities you hadn't noticed before? How did that moment feel? And what did it change for you? Lastly, consider where you are right now. Are you in a place of waiting, planning, or stepping forward? What small intentional steps can you take today that might not get you all the way there, but could move you closer? How can you trust the process even if the end goal still feels far away? As we wrap up today's episode, take a moment to think about the steps you could take toward a goal you've been putting off. What small actions are within your reach today? How can you shift your focus from what's missing to what's possible? Remember, it's not about having it all figured out. It's about trusting that every step you take will get you closer to where you're meant to be. Until the next time, thanks for joining me today. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Say Yes to What's Next. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Until the next time.